Hello! Welcome again to another video. And you can probably tell by the title, I've got some stuff to talk about regarding Gambit. I had a little bit of thought about this for probably a little over a week. Because I was like, took a look at the blog post, saw some stuff that's going on, saw some changes, some more quality of life stuff, some more updates. Nothing about Gambit. Again. Interesting. So, makes me wonder, like, have they finally decided to give up on Gambit entirely? Do they have something planned for Gambit? Or, no? Is something going to replace it? But I'm not making this video to talk about that in particular. I'm making this video because I had some thoughts of, like, what could they do to make Gambit better? What could they do to make Gambit more playable, more fun? You know what could they do? So I sat around and I thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, what are things they could do that would make Gambit more fun, more engaging, or at the very least, you know, spice it up a little bit so that it's not, you know, pain? I guess calling it painful would be the best way to put that. So, the first idea that I had for making Gambit more fun, or at least more playable, stop with the heavy spawns. I think that was genuinely the worst change that they made, was giving heavy spawns. Or if you're gonna do that, I had an idea. And bear with me, I've got some wild and out there ideas. And you know, you can feel free to tell me, no, that would not work. Explain to me, this is exactly why this would not work. This is just how my mind is processing Gambit as a whole. So, I hope I'm not coming off as abrasive with my ideas with this. Because, like, honestly, actually, Gambit kind of grew on me a little bit. I really enjoyed it during the Prime days. Like, Gambit Prime I felt like was fresh, and it actually gave you a reason to get the Gambit armor sets and stuff, because they, you know, they gave you benefits for playing. And they were only useful during Prime, so when that was gone, it was like, there's nothing to do there. So, my idea is either ditch the heavy spawns, because, like, they're problematic for both invading and for melting of the primeval, or this was the idea that I had while I was mulling this over. What if, when someone invades, it locks heavy weapons and supers for the team that's being invaded? So, like, let's say that the invaders, because, like, this is the, like, give and take kind of aspect of this that I'm thinking of that would make it more fair for both sides, is it locks the team that's being invaded from using supers and from using heavy weapons. However, the invader also cannot use heavy weapons or supers if they keep the overshield. You see where I'm going with this? You can tell me, like, because this is the two iterations that I have. One, it just locks supers and heavies for the invader and the team being invaded. Or, two, it just locks those for the invading team, but the invader doesn't get an overshield. Like, I feel like there needs to be something that spices that up, because just having an invader pop in, having an overshield, they're either going to get nuked immediately by the heavy ammo that spawned, nuked by a super, or they're going to do the inverse to the team they are invading. Which, like, the amount of times you have an invader come in with something like Xenophage or a rocket and just fucking nuke someone from across the map with little to no effort. Like, yes, it's a denial play, but it's also infuriating to be on the receiving end of. And it happens a lot. Which, with the heavy spawns, it happens more frequently because you don't need your super if you've got a basically unlimited amount of heavy ammo spawning after every area. 2, this is more of a gameplay speed idea that I had. Take it back to Gambit Prime style of primeval damage. Like, there have been encounters recently in missions where they have given enemies either increased resistances or increased health, and you have to get like a buff to do more damage, and or you create a debuff on the target that makes them easier to chunk. I think they should go back to that prime style of, like, within every so many intervals, 1 envoy spawns. And you kill that envoy, you get, of course, the 1 stack of Primeval Slayer. So, it gives you a little bit of a slower burn for the boss phase, but at the same time, the boss is damageable the entire time. There is no immunity phases for the boss. The boss is just there, it has a set amount of health, it just has a shit ton of resistance. Like, and each one of the Primeval Slayer buffs gives you that set increase of damage to the boss, so you can melt it faster. The other idea that I have to make Gambit more fun is to, of course, make, you know, make it more of like a PvE sandbox than a PvP sandbox. So, like, if you want the invader to be the main threat of Gambit, you need to make the enemies, the non-player character enemies, not as threatening. Like, Shriekers are fucking terrifying on the PvP sandbox. Same thing with Ogres. They are horrifying because they just look at you for like 2 seconds and they shredded you. But, like, I feel like Gambit has potential. Like, there's something there. It can be fun. It's just, in its current iteration, it's got too many negatives compared to the positives. If that makes sense. Like, the boss's immunity phases have been the biggest annoyance. It's like, yes, it gives you that catch-up, but I feel like what they've been doing with the missions would be much better for a catch-up mechanic than immunity phases. And, like, heavy ammo is something that fluctuated quite a bit economy-wise. But the fact that now you can basically get guaranteed heavy after every area is cleared, it just kind of dilutes the... It makes it more heavy ammo focused, I feel like. Which, of course, the game itself, DPS-wise, is focused more heavily on supers and heavy ammo than it was, like, special weapons and primary weapons. Because, like, you have, like, some outlying primary weapons that can put up solid DPS numbers if they're, like, your last choice options. Like, you are out of ammo with your other DPS options, so you have your super and your primary weapon that has infinite ammo. I think that after the buffs, the primaries are probably going to be in a better spot, and it's going to be nice. It's a needed change because, to be honest, I'm kind of in this situation, and you can make your cases, just, you know, be respectful. I think that the current state of the game is too focused around nerfing the outliers instead of more viability for other options. It was the complaint that I had about the MG nerf and the sniper nerf. Because, like, the MG nerf, all MGs got nerfed because of Thunderlord. So MGs are not really boss options aside from two, but the two that are not really MGs, it's Xenophage and Grand Overture. They're not really MGs. They're just like machine grenade launchers, basically. And snipers got nerfed because they were doing damage from a safe distance, which that's what a sniper does. That is literally what a sniper does. But like in the current ammo economy, now that primary weapons no longer, you know, need ammo bricks, I feel like it is the time for special weapons to get some love. Like snipers. Grenade launchers never really go anywhere. They got hit because of, like, auto-reloading. Auto-reloading was really the initial catalyst for a lot of problems with DPS weapons. And when that got removed, a lot of those problem weapons weren't really problem weapons. Like, they weren't really outliers anymore because, like, oh, they can't instantly auto-reload while standing in a well or standing in a rift. Okay, so what's next? So now, everything is kind of more focused on what's the reserve. Like, what is your total damage? We still have, like, the prioritization of burst because of DPS phases, but in a lot of activities, having that ammo last the entire fight seems to be getting more and more important. And I'm not a huge fan of the, like, okay, we need to nerf everything down to the same level in PvE. I want to make that clear. I'm talking about PvE. PvP needs a lot more work. Because, like, connections are very important in PvP, and that needs to be focused on pretty heavily. But for PvE, and anything revolving around the PvE sandbox, I don't like the mentality of nerf things down to be in line with everything else instead of bring things into a happy medium. Because, like, when you nerf things down and buff things up to try and make some new metas, you end up feeding into the elitist mentality of, okay, you have to have this, or this is optimal DPS. This is what you need to do these encounters the fastest, most efficient way. Because, well, it's okay to be like, yes, I want to use the most efficient way to complete this. Like, that's okay. When it becomes a requirement for groups, like, you have to use this, or you have to use that, or we're not gonna get this through. That's not a good mindset. It's not healthy. It's not a great mentality. I want to get to the point, like, this is me. This is my full opinion. Nobody else's opinion but mine. This is just me speaking for me. I want to see a point in the sandbox where every weapon is viable. Like, you can make any of these weapons work. Does that mean sometimes you're gonna have to work a little bit harder or be a little bit cleaner? Yes. But if everything is on a relatively even playing field, some things, of course, can be more efficient at some aspects than others. That's fine. That's totally fine. But can you feasibly do all content in the game with any weapon? Because the variety and the playstyles will change drastically if you can use your favorite weapons in any content, PvE-wise at least. I feel like it would be healthy to, instead of having, we need to tone this down because it's too much stronger than everything else, and it's just outright better at everything overall than these other guns. It's like, okay, what weapon am I feeling like using today? Oh, I feel like using this one because I haven't used it in a while and can do this content. Like, can you use this weapon in this content without feeling like, oh, I have basically given myself a challenge using this weapon? Like, I am playing at a disadvantage by using this setup. It could just be me being like, okay, I just want to use different weapons. Like, you can make a lot of stuff work. You really can. But just that ingrained mindset of, oh, you're not using the meta DPS stuff? Ugh. It's the same thing with, like, I've seen stuff, people being like, oh, well, you didn't use this when you did your solo flawless? Oh, well, ugh, you. Like, what? Who? Why? Why? What was the need for that? Just be happy for people. Like, people want to do something for fun, let people do something for fun. As long as they're not being, like, intentionally detracting from everyone else, like, let them have fun. Let them use what they want to use. Like, I want to use some funky weapons in PvE. Like, even before they announced that it was, well, at least hinted at that Twin-Tailed Fox is getting a catalyst, I want to use Twin-Tailed Fox. Like, I want to use stuff like that more often because it's interesting. They're funky little guns. Like, I want to use the unique, funky little guns in in-game content and do silly shit. But some content, it feels like if you're not using specific weapons, you're just not going to get it done in a timely manner. And as we know in certain in-game content in Destiny, the longer that it takes you to do it, the more likely it is you're gonna get wiped. Which is kind of why that ingrained nature of, like, oh, you need to use, like, meta shit or optimal DPS. Because the shorter bosses last, the less chances you have to wipe. And if you're trying to do, like, solo flawless stuff, wiping is so deflating, depending on where it happens. That's the same thing as why dying because of physics while trying to do a solo flawless run is the worst feeling ever. So that's getting changed. So hopefully, in Lightfall, with all these quality of life changes and mods getting reworked to be a little bit more user-friendly, I hope that weapons are also going to get some love. And we kind of move toward more of a, like, less defined meta and more of a, hey, with this new setup, you can make more things work, which makes more things viable. That's all that I really want. I just want more viability. Not necessarily just for myself, like, I want it for newer players, because, like, Destiny in and of itself is kind of daunting for new players to hop into right now. Because there's so much stuff. They get assaulted basically right away with pop-up upon pop-up upon pop-up of content. Things that they don't know where to start, they don't know what to do, the tutorial doesn't really help that much. If you don't know someone that has already been playing Destiny and knows a bit about what's going on, you're kind of jumping into a Shark Tank, kind of, in a sense. And I kind of want to make the entry experience for new players easier. Because once people start playing the game, and they actually, like, get hands-on and learn what's going on in the game, a lot of people actually seem to stay. It's just how daunting it is. Because there's so many expansions, there's so much stuff, and there's so many, like, quests, there's so many different currencies, which thankfully they're cutting down on that in Lightfall. But there's so many different things that you need to keep track of, and someone that's played MMOs before can probably pick up on it really quickly, but it's that whole aspect of, this is a lot of new stuff that I need to take in at once. Same thing with crafting and all that. For veteran players, this stuff is great. But for new players, it's a lot of info dumping to take in at once. When chances are they just downloaded the game to try it out because it's something they saw their friend play. The biggest motivator for a lot of people to play games like this is my friends playing it, and it gives me another opportunity to hang out with my friends. And that's kind of what Destiny's been. Like, I've primarily played it solo, but some of my best experiences with the game have been playing with other people. Long story short, it started out as a rant about Gambit, ended up with me talking about, like, entry point of the game. It's primarily going to be, this video is going to be about Gambit. I've gone on for 20 minutes. I've rambled. I've sat here in the foundry for crafting weapons, talking about all this stuff, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know below what your thoughts are. Some stuff, any like ideas you might have about Gambit or the new player experience. Let me know. Cause like, it's something that I'm very ingrained in, because like, even though I play this game a hell of a lot, I still like to consider myself more on the casual side, because like, I have and use a lot of like meta stuff here and there, but a lot of the stuff that I end up using, I use because I enjoy it. Like, for instance, fucking Parasite here. It's a funky gun. It's fun. And I'm pairing it with the fucking grenade launcher from Dares that has blinding nades, and the fucking Callus mini tool. I want to go back to using, like, more hand cannons. Like, I want to do more hand cannon-centric, focused setups. Because I like hand cannons. And I want to like scout rifles. I guess I should use DMT, since they, gave it some love recently. But, long story short, these were my thoughts on the state of Gambit and the new player experience as a whole. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.